Hello, people. Yes, it's another audio only video. I'm kind of liking these for when I think the video is going to be short. I also can't lie. It's really working for me that it takes up less memory on the old iPad, if you know what I mean. So this week I read Hellboy: The Lost Army. Now, Hellboy is originally a comic book, but I know it from the movie. So I was interested because the characters are fun, right? But I wondered what this was specifically. But the book tells you almost instantly when we start. There's a note or a forward from the original creator because he's explaining like what are we looking at here? What ends up happening is our author, Chris Golden, just straight up walked up to the creator. Sorry, I forget his name of the Hellboy comics themselves. He just straight walks up to him and he's like, I want to make a standalone novel with your cat there, with your Hellboy. Would that be okay? And the guy, to his credit, looked in on some of his stuff, said, yeah, his sentiment can work. And he said yes. Which I say to his credit, a lot of authors don't do that. They're very protective of the thing that they've created. I used to think they were a bit stuck up about it, but then you see certain remakes of certain stuff. I'm looking at you, Halo show, and I can start to understand why. You can't give people your toys; they'll break them. In any case, that's what this is. It's approved by the creator, standalone story, Hellboy, which I think is very cool. Not a novelization of a comic, just standalone. So Hellboy is a demon. It doesn't go much into his pure origin, so you don't have to, we don't waste time with that, so to speak. But he is a demon. Big, he's red, he's heavy, he's fireproof, he takes damage really well, like a tank. He shaves down his horns because he's a bit embarrassed by them because he was raised by people. But these descriptions come across, I think, fairly well in this book. The same with the other people in his crew. What is it? Professor Brune, an old, wise professor. I think he's the one who found him, really babies him like he's his son. Abe Sapien, who was found in a tube, in like a large water tube with the tag April 14, 1865 on it, which leaves you always with the mystery of, because he's human shaped, but he's really fish like. And so you wonder, like, is he like 200 years old or whatever? Or was that just a weird tag that was put on? You don't exactly know what's happening with this setup. It doesn't really explain it, at least in any lore that I've read so far. It's just a fun mystery. It gives it that mysterious element. And your Liz Sherman, 23, she's like Carrie from the movie, where if she goes to sleep and dreams, she might burn the town down. This kind of fire starter energy. They are fun, but they don't they're not in this book that often. Just at the very beginning and the very end, they're cap ins. I would have liked more of them, but I can understand, and it's justifiable for this story. So I'm not going to be too mad about that. So we intro them just to give us a vibe, I would say, of Hellboy. And this is sort of the fun, I guess, of this whole book. It isn't, we're not going deep. It's not literature, if you know what I'm saying. No offense to it, the author, anyone involved. You know, nachos are just cheese and chips, but it doesn't mean they're not delicious. But it isn't like, a well done steak or something like this. It knows what it is. It's nachos. This book is nachos. It's really tremendous. So Hellboy's vibe is like, he's like a 9 to 5 working man. Like he would grab his lunch pail, he'd wear plaid, Only, of course, his 9 to 5 is demons and hell gates and all kind of craziness like this. They really describe all the pockets he has, and it's full of charms blessed by the Pope and all this kind of mess. It's garlic, silver, all of the ins and outs sort of a monster hunter would need, but in this working class kind of guy. And he gives off this vibe of sort of where he doesn't exactly know what's going on all the time. It's very fun. It's a lot of these will try and sort of give you a horror heavy element, which can be difficult because we all know the main character isn't going to really die. But this takes sort of the other track where we get a working class fun vibe, but that just makes this whatever 6, 7 foot tall demon relatable. He has a stone right hand, hooved feet. He's red, but he comes across as just like a guy you would chill with. Very loyal. All those attributes are likable. So we now like the character. And then, of course, the author puts ancillary characters in danger, which the character we like would be unhappy if they died. And now we're right in the, what do we say? The drama, the stakes. The stakes become real to us because we care about him. So through him, this kind of vibe it goes with. It's very slick. He gets called in specifically from an outside source. A lady named Anastasia has called in the BPRD. That's his unit that he works with. She thinks something supernatural has happened to an expedition in the desert. And it comes up to him because I think one of the ladies in the expeditions, a member of the British royal family, an old lady. So she gets the what do we say? The juice is now behind the call, so he can't really say no. And then we add to it the element that he he used to date this lady. And so already it's going to be a fun. Is it awkward? Is it romantic vibe? We get this kind of vibe. I really like it. He jumps just to sort of give you a taste of the humor. He jumps out of a plane to make it into the desert. But I think he mistimes the parachute or he's too heavy. Some element goes wrong where he pulls the chute late. So if you're some 100 yards above the ground and you pull the chute, it might, you're going to hit hard. He hits hard, but he lands on a camel, right? He lands on a camel. And he gets up looking at a couple of Bedouins who are just seeing this red guy fall out of the sky. He just his because he's such a big mass, he just completely obliterates. He turns this poor camel into roadkill. He gets up, he goes, geez, I'm so sorry. I didn't see him until the last second. The Bedouins just scream and leave. Because what would you do if you saw a big red demon fall out of the sky and obliterate a camel? But he acts like he just like knocked over a jar of your pickles or something, right? It's the matter of factness of it. It's so funny. There's a lot of those moments. He'll be fighting a monster and will you just shut up, right? And he'll punch it in the face, this kind of energy. He's just full of this energy. This kind of what is this vibe? It's this down to earth, almost sitcom vibe where it's not taking itself too serious, but then it just makes the situation, juxtaposes the situation and makes the situation more serious. It's a weird blend, but it really, really works in this book. So we get to the dig site and it's a hot mess. We have Anastasia sort of supposedly in charge. At least she's the expert on the field, trying to determine what happened to this Catherine lady, this lady Catherine. We have MI6 agents from Britain, and we have American military. a corporal, right? And there's a lot of friction in between all these power struggles. And Hellboy's first idea is like, the desert's kind of big, maybe they just sort of got lost. Which gives you the energy like he might get called to a lot of false alarms, meaning these things aren't as common as I guess some sitcoms might make it feel, right? Like a monster a week. Like you don't always find a monster every week. But it's also maybe the energy of Hellboy doesn't really want to work, right? If he could get out of doing work and just hang out with this lady, he might take that over actually having to deal with whatever this mess might be. So they're all hanging out by a oasis. If you hear paper, that's me notes. I got remember I'm on audio now. I have to give auditory cues so as to not lose the audios. They're hanging out by an oasis and soldiers come up. Persian soldiers. Ancient Persian soldiers. So they're like half zombie, tattered clothes, but pristine weapons of war from the era. It's already kind of cool. Of course, they attack. He kills them. When you kill them, they just turn to dust, but the weapons stay. So the scientists are like, oh, we got these great artifacts. The military is like, what the crap did I just see? And then Hellboy is the one who's really connecting the dots. Because what they had thought is, what is this Persian thing I'm looking at? And the big story, the big known lore of this area, again, it's in actual history. At some point, Cambyses, we'll say Cambyses, who was, what did they say, the king of kings, king of Persia, the Persian Empire, got mad at a group of people and sent 50,000 men into the desert to go deal with those people. And the desert swallowed them up. Not one of them made it out or back. We can't find any evidence of where they are, what happened to them. Gone. 50,000 men army. And so their idea is that somehow someone or something is bringing back that army. And so they're looking at, well, we just fought these 12 zombies. And Hellboy's like, well, where are the rest of the 50,000? And it starts to weigh on them like the scale of what might be their problem. And being a demon, he's able, what is it? They're talking gibberish, but he's able to understand sort of all languages. And in the zombie gibberish, he hears the name Marty Koo. And he's like, well, we probably got to find that guy. He probably has something to do with it. Cut to Lady Catherine. We end up finding her, I say her remains. She's calling to Hellboy, right? She wants to impart information. Everyone's freaking out, MI6 agents included, which again is another good reason to have normal people there. Hellboy is used to talking to corpses and zombies and the like because this is what he does. But he can't get across sort of the ghoulishness of what we're dealing with. It's a head and some of the spinal cord attached. And the head's talking like a normal person. But everything else is just this horror show of a ghoul. This gory mess. I'm telling, it sounds weird, but it can merge these two. These two can sit next to each other. This humor and this gore sits next to each other very well. In any case, he goes in and what is it? He goes, he tells them, stand back. As in, their closeness might interfere with the connection the ghost has with this, human remains form, which it wouldn't. He's just trying to be nice to get him away. But you can also get the sense of he's trying to look more tough or more in control than he is. He has nothing to do with this lady showing back up. He's just going to be, understand the message. But it's a funny little moment. But he talks to this head And she's explaining sort of what happened, that they did get attacked by these Persians, that these Persians have a leader named Hazred, an ancient, no, he's the leader Hazred, who wants to resurrect Matiku, an ancient Sumerian wizard. That's what's happening here. So he's the one that's causing these soldiers to come up. These soldiers then killed the expedition. And now we understand the source of our problem, of course. We got to go fix it. The fix ends up being through the oasis. There's an underground sort of tunnel that leads to a sort of a large cave complex wherein is essentially a lost tribe. Lost as in a tribe time forgot. They're essentially existing the way they would have 3,000 years ago, or whatever the number is, when the Cambyses' army would have been in existence. I don't know how far back that is. Just from the Persian Empire era to now, they've existed in this cave since that time. They're bronze equipment, sort of adobe houses, this kind of energy, somehow living up under in this big cave system. He finds a tablet, has to fight a tentacle monster. At another point, he has to fight like massive spiders with legs 12 feet long, right? These are just day in the life of things. Almost equivalent of if you were reading a book about space, you'd want some space action, right? I need the spaceship. I want to be on different planets. I might want to deal with aliens. That's what you expect out of a book like this. I need some monster attacks. And the book doesn't disappoint. The fights are fun. There's that hidden danger element. We get a possession at one point. One of their crew, a rune, starts to go kind of crazy. And I like that no one sees it till it's fairly late in its development. Because that's always a problem for me in some of these books, where how do you show that someone everyone knows is possessed without everyone knowing they're different? So if they just don't realize it, then I start to think my main characters are stupid. But if it doesn't show enough, then I'm like, the possession's not that strong and you could have resisted it. It's a thin line to cross, but they traverse it really well. It's subtly coming up, and it presents in the form of, what is it? This Arun guy is attracted to our Anastasia quietly in his mind. That's normal for a guy. But this wizard, this element, feeds on that desire to corrupt from the inside, right? So it's growing this attraction into lust, into seething, into an uncontrollable sort of thing. Very smart. They end up capturing, and then we get a lot of the origins of this situation. Our Hazred's, our evil wizard, no, he's not the evil wizard. He's the evil wizard's apprentice. Hazred is describing all of this. He's saying that Matiku at one point loved a lady who didn't love him, and sort of in his grief, he sunk Atlantis. And after he did that, the wizards of the world teamed up to banish him to another region, a void region, where he didn't die, he grew powerful, and he then contacted Hazred, gave him immortality if he'd sort of get him a body to come back into our realm from this nether void realm. Pretty cool little backstory, to be honest. And that was part of the reason why they captured Cambyses' army. Hazred says that Matiku, the big evil, had it in his mind that of these 50,000 men, one of them is bound to be strong enough to hold his form, and so we'll capture him. Turns out none of them were, so we had to wait. And wait we did until, Who knows? Who shows up? Hellboy. You can't get a better form to possess than the durability that is Hellboy. So that becomes the plan. I'm going to possess your body, and Matiku will come into the world, and then he'll rule. That's just his plan. And you get the sense as it goes through Hellboy and through other narration that our Hazred might have been tricked. There's no guarantee this voice that's talking to him was ever even a wizard alive on Earth. It's the, what is that? When you deal with the old gods, they're tricky. And they might have sort of just tricked this Hazred. We never really know for certain. But we do know that there's this void realm. And at some point, we open that void realm. And then we cut between Hellboy and this literal hole in the universe and our soldiers who are outside. Soldiers are just in a dogfight with Kambisis's zombie army. Again, very action-packed, and Hellboy's in a fight against this demon portal. Because what first comes through is flesh-eating scarabs that don't touch Hellboy, but he's of course worried about Anastasia. And it almost kills Hazred, but he uses his wizard powers to get him off. And it just starts eating everyone in town. So it's just chaos. It's just swarm upon swarm of these scarab evil things. And Hellboy's got a sense that, more evil could come out. Of course, he eventually, in the most dramatical way possible, and I mean that in, what is it? If you've seen soccer, if you watch soccer, sometimes there's a goalie that could just sort of take 2 steps to the side, catch the ball with his chest, and move on with the game. Instead, he jumps like it's saving a penalty kick, just to be just extra for no reason. This is kind of the Hellboy energy. He could have probably done things a little easier, but he has to do things the hands-on dramatical way. It's very fun. You get the sense of, what is it, uh, like a plumber dealing with like a massive water main break. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of yelling. There might be, a couple of hammer blows. We're not finessing this thing right now. This is energy. It's very fun. He ends up essentially crushing Hazred's body so that the Matiku can't talk through it. The repulsion there of Matiku, be it an old god, be it an ancient Sumerian wizard, we're not really sure. The repulsion's enough force to crack the dome of the cave. And so, the earth is going to swallow the rift in the universe, so we don't have to worry about that. But now Hellboy has to get out, and he has to swim out with Anastasia. She can't make it, obviously, and he has to resuscitate her. And we get that great interplay, which is going through the whole book of the romance, not romance. In a typical story, we get the beginnings of it. Every time James Bond's talking to a hot lady, right? That's the beginning, the love blossoming. And at some point, that love could be relationship, and relationship could wind its way to incompatibility, breakup. This story re-meets the two at the aftermath point. So we constantly have this play between attraction, clearly, everything about what attracted these two to each other's there, but then the knowledge of incompatibility. It's constantly at play. So now with, of course, he's doing CPR, that's mouth to mouth, that's attraction, but then he's happy she's alive because she's not a bad person just because we broke up. Is there hope of getting back together? There's realization that it probably won't happen. And they leave in this kind of a happily confused tangle. What is this? What do I do with this attraction to this person, this great person that I know sort of doesn't work out for me? We leave with that energy. And he just sort of goes back to his crew and they welcome him home. And that's how the book ends. Got great little elements. It's great. It's a great popcorn book. It's a good solid batch of nachos. You shouldn't be disappointed if you read it, but don't go in expecting anything very heavy. Just expect a good batch of nachos and you'll be all right. Okay. And now this is ad section. These are my books. You can buy these. You can get Kindle Unlimited and read them. You can also like, subscribe, or just watch or comment. All are completely fine by me. I won't hold any of them against you. I don't know, it's sort of a short video, but that's the type of book it was. It's nothing too heavy, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. I'm definitely going to read more Hellboy books. Certainly. Okay, I'll talk to you all next week.